Pretty disturbing situation involving one of the Detroit Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Matt Dery with you on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today is Wednesday, March the 20th, and the Thursday, March the 21st. Got to wish a happy birthday to my wife, whose birthday it is today. But welcome into the podcast. Thanks for listening and making us your first listen. Checking us out wherever you get your podcast. That includes our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Thank you to those that have subscribed. Check out the comments all the time. I appreciate our everydayers that are out there that watch or listen each and every day right here on Locked On Lions. We are brought to you today by our friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Check us out on Twitter at Dery Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, Matt Dery Facebook fan page, on Threads at The Real Matt Dery, and as I mentioned, on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. All right, this is tough. This is a tough topic to get into. This is something we have to talk about. My job here on Locked On Lions, and I've been doing this podcast for since 2016, almost 8 years or whatever it's been, is to give you the news of the day, to react to it, to talk about it, and I've never shied away from any topic. This one's certainly a little tricky. As a Detroit Lions starter, all right, a big piece of what happened last year, cornerback Cameron Sutton is wanted by police down in Hillsborough County, Florida. He has been fleeing for nearly 2 weeks, and no one knows where he is. Cam Sutton is wanted in an assault and battery case, as police in Florida have been looking for Cam for 2 weeks after an arrest warrant was issued over his alleged involvement in a domestic violence case. According to police, he allegedly battered a woman around 4:50 in the morning of March the 7th, and also strangled her. Phil Martello, a spokesman for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, told ESPN today that police have been unable to find Sutton or locate him since March 7th. His phone's been turned off. No one knows where he is. When the arrest warrant was issued, police had responded to a call that morning at a house in Lutz, Florida, where Sutton allegedly battered a woman, then fled the scene. Another sheriff's office spokesperson told ESPN that there was evidence of wounds on the woman's body. Sutton lives in Pinellas County, close by. Police haven't been able to find him. His phone's been turned off. They've tried calling him. The Lions issued a statement today, said, quote, "We became aware of the ongoing legal situation involving Cam Sutton this morning. We will continue to monitor the situation, will not have further comment at this time," end quote. This all came out this morning when the sheriff's office in Hillsborough County, Florida, put out a social media post asking for help in finding him. And there was his picture and all that stuff. Cam Sutton, of course, started all 17 games for the Lions last year, 29 years of age, and is in the midst of a 3-year, $33 million contract entering into year number 2. Couple of things on this. Number one, if the Lions get help from the NFL, let's say right now the Lions are going to do nothing. They're going to wait and see and to quote the morning show co-host at the Ticket, play this out. They're going to let it play out. The Lions are not going to do anything at this time unless the owner of the team, Sheila Hamp, who runs the whole show, is her team, female owner, says, I want nothing to do with the guy, even if it's just alleged. Now, again, he's not been charged. They're trying to arrest him. They want to talk to him. They want to find out his side of the story, and they want due process to happen. What's interesting is you've got a female owner here who is very, very protective of the team, of the players, of any women that work for the team. She is very, very active in women's rights and everything else. And whether it's women's rights, men's rights, black, white, whatever, you do not strangle somebody. All right. Whether you, and so but to me, sometimes I think we do jump to conclusions. Again, he's innocent until proven guilty. But in this instance, when you have a female owner of the football team, she may make the decision, you know what, get him out of here. Whether he did it or not, I don't want this on the roster. I don't want this as part of the organization. Now, what the Lions likely are going to do is wait for the NFL to suspend him, because then if we got to go through due process and he claims innocence or whatever and says he's not guilty, the Lions would get, if the NFL suspends him, some money to spend on his replacement. Again, he's owed, I believe, $9 or $10 million next season. The Lions can't just say, oh, and again, the Lions maneuver the salary cap. The Lions and Brad Holmes and Mike Disner and everybody in the front office has done a great job with the cap. But if they want some assistance to replace him, like a Stephon Gilmore or somebody like that, a free agent cornerback, and they don't want to use the money that's allocated to other players or that they've worked hard under the salary cap to save, if the NFL suspends him, the Lions do get money from the league, or do get money back from the Sutton contract to spend, but they can't just sit on it. The Lions can't just get a reprieve from the league. All right, we're suspending this player for something he did off the field, conduct detrimental to the league or whatever they call it. Domestic violence, all of these things. Here's the salary, but you have to use it. And that's what the Lions would likely do. The other thing is Cam Sutton is a human being. It's obvious he's made a major mistake if he's actually done this. He's missing. This has sort of the O.J. Simpson vibe a little bit. No one can find him. It's been 2 weeks. The Lions weren't even aware of this situation, they claim in their statement, since this morning. So there's a lot in play here. I mean, you want me to sit here and tell you that, my guess is you'll never see Cam Sutton in a Lion uniform again. Why is he running? Why is he hiding? Where is he? Is he okay? He has teammates and friends on this team that are probably very concerned about him too. You do not put your hands on a woman. You do not strangle a woman. 4:50 in the morning, 2 weeks ago, and now this is coming out. This is pretty ugly. This is very ugly. And obviously Cam Sutton this year had a very good start to the season, didn't have a great finish to the year. And from a football perspective, it's interesting. We talk about this all the time. Really good players and great players sometimes get a little bit of a reprieve or a little bit of a break, right? Because they're so good at what they do. If Aaron Rodgers was a lousy quarterback and couldn't throw the ball, do you think that the Jets would want to deal with that headache? Probably not. Right? Albert Bell, growing up as a Cleveland Indians fan, was one of the worst human beings of all time. But you know what? Guy hit 50 home runs and drove in 140 runs. He was unbelievable. So you dealt with the a-holeness. In this instance with Cam Sutton, this is a player that does have value. This was a starter a year ago. This was a guy you were probably counting on. But if this is true and he is suspended by the league and maybe even kicked out of the league, if he gets arrested and he's in jail, the Lions are going to move on from him. There's no question about it. But again, he may come out and say she's lying. I don't know. But as of right now, why is he hiding? Is he innocent? And so now he's like, I need to just hide. Maybe he panicked. It's been almost 2 weeks. And Hillsborough County Police are trying to find him. And I hope he's okay. I don't condone what he did, if he did do it. But now, I'm sure some of his teammates that are his friends are like, this is a wild situation. And again, the Detroit Lions have been a squeaky clean organization under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and Sheila and Rod and the crew. They have not wanted any type of cancerous personalities in their locker room. And the closest thing they've had to that is probably Chauncey Gardner-Johnson last year. But the Lions police that pretty well. But they have had really good guys and really good people in that front office, in that coaching staff, along every aspect of the organization. They have had a great culture. And so for a player to have a misstep like this and to allegedly batter a woman does not jibe with what the Lions have been doing the last few years. So you have to figure that Cam Sutton's days are numbered as a Detroit Lion, if a lot of this is true. I'll get more into the football aspect of it coming up next. Romeo Okwara is retiring. We'll talk about that. And the NFL is proposing a rule change this year that, if you recall, during the Thursday night game, the Lions-Packers back in Green Bay in Week 4, the Lions got hosed on. And that would be a good thing to impose this rule change. We'll do all that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. Locked On Lions today brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you're going to get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that dub. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. I very quickly, just more on this Cam Sutton situation, because I want to get away from the off the field stuff for a second. It's terrible. It's despicable if it's true. And he should be reprimanded and booted out of the league if he in fact tried to strangle a woman and all of these things. If the Lions move on from Cam Sutton, you got to remember something this organization and Brad Holmes has been doing over the last few weeks in free agency is adding cornerbacks. You know, Carlton Davis is a big time pickup. And really, as he said, Davis did when he was signed, he's your new number one cornerback. He's a guy that I feel the Lions feel is going to step right in and be a shutdown type of guy. I think you probably penciled in Sutton to move more from the number one spot where he was last year over to the number two. Amik Robertson was just picked up from the Raiders. Khalil Dorsey is going to be back. Emmanuel Mosley is coming back. So the Lions have some options, certainly a cornerback, and a more deep cornerback room right now than they had at the end of the season. Gone are the likes of Jerry Jacobs, Will Harris, Chase Lucas, and others. Kendall Vildor is unsigned at the moment. No, I do not think this changes Brad Holmes' philosophy on L'Jarius Sneed. I just don't see a way that the Lions are going to spend $19-20 million on a cornerback. I think the biggest signing they made was DJ Reader and giving him around $13.5 million for 2 seasons, a year for 2 seasons. But I was asked today by one of our everydayers, Dan Zeck, about, hey, do you think the Lions will go after Sneed now? I just don't see it. I know there were some rumors last week and some reports that the Colts were interested, and there were some conversations. You're going to have to give up assets, draft capital to get L'Jarius Sneed, and you're going to have to pay him. And from what we've seen from Brad Holmes and some of the smart signings and the 1-year deals and the 1-year flyers on guys like Marcus Davenport, a 1-year deal for Kevin Zeitler, that type of thing, I don't see the Lions all of a sudden going, oh, Cam Sutton's, running from the police. Well, he's going to be gone. Let's just go get L'Jarius Sneed. I would think they would take that money and go get, like I said, a guy like Stephon Gilmore. I know they talked to Tavier Thomas last week, a veteran, somebody of that ilk for less money than breaking the bank for a cornerback that you're going to have to pay $20 million a year to. So I don't see that as something that the Lions are going to do. A little bit surprising yesterday to see this. I'm not all that surprised though, because he had been battling injuries the last couple of years. And he just hadn't played great football. But last night on Instagram, Romeo Okwara announced his retirement. Quote, after some introspection and meditation, or meditation, excuse me, I've decided to step away from the NFL. The game of football has been the largest part of my life for the greater of 18 years, 8 of which I've been fortunate enough to play at the professional level, 4 of those with my brother. The experiences, friendships, and camaraderie I've been lucky enough to share with my teammates, coaches, and peers is something I will forever be grateful for. You all mean the world to me, and I will continue to cheer you on the rest of our lives. Lions also put out a thank you to Romeo Okwara as well. Romeo added, Detroit Lions NFL, thank you for giving this young kid a chance 6 years ago after coming to the league as a free agent. My heart is forever with you in the city of Detroit. I'm excited what's next as I navigate this crazy transition away from the game. End quote. Okwara was originally went undrafted back in 2016, played for the Giants, of course, was brought in by Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, and then ended up spending 6 years with the Lions. Had a really good year. His first year was 7.5 sacks, also had a 10 sack season, but the last couple of years, torn Achilles, having to have 2 surgeries on his Achilles. Yeah, he's retiring at age 28, but there's a lot of tread on the Romeo Okwara tires. And you could just tell at the end of last season that number 95 was just not the same guy. But let me tell you something right now. Go into Google, go Google Romeo Okwara and Kyle Meinke, mlive.com, and read the piece about Romeo and his love for music, his love for art. He lived on the east side here in Southeast Michigan, kind of away from where the other players usually live. And he was just kind of a guy that marched to the beat of his own drum. But man, was he a good teammate. When he was hurt a couple of times, never complained, was always around the team. And for a guy that really kind of underachieved last season, coming back from injury and took a pay cut, he really didn't have a great season. All right. But he was productive. He was a guy that other teams looked at. You look back over the last few years, and obviously now Aiden Hutchinson has taken the torch of being the Lions' best edge rusher, best pass rusher. But before that, for a good handful of years, the biggest threat the Lions had to getting to the quarterback was Romeo. And the fact that he got to play with his brother and was, like I said, really good teammate. He signed with the Lions not once, but twice, 2 extensions with the team. Or 2 contracts with the team. And actually, he came over on a 1-year, signed a 2-year deal, then signed a 3-year deal, and made a lot of money, $13 million a year over his last contract. But you kind of knew the Lions weren't going to be bringing him back. They're not going to be bringing Charles Harris back. Of course, Julian Okwara is gone now with Philadelphia. But shout out to Romeo. Just a really, really good guy and a guy that gave it his all. We talk about culture. We talked about Cam Sutton and what's going on with him legally right now. Romeo Okwara was just a really solid individual, a great guy, a great teammate. I believe a captain at one point for the Lions. And so he'll be missed. But at age 28, with the injuries that he's been through and with everything that he's gone through, to be a part of this team this past season that got to the NFC Championship game, he's a guy that will not be forgotten. That is for sure in Romeo Okwara. So you wish him the best for announcing his retirement last night from the franchise. You look up right now and go, all right, as far as what the Lions are doing, Aiden Hutchinson, certainly, Marcus Davenport, James Houston, Kaminsky, Pascal, the guys in the interior, Reeder and McNeil, Onwuzurike. You got to figure the Lions are going to be in the draft looking for another edge rusher. But I didn't think that Romeo Okwara was going to be back, regardless of whether or not he decided to retire or not. All right, rule change that I cannot believe we're still having a discussion about that hasn't been changed. And it involved a play in the Lions-Packers game this past season, the Thursday night game, that had fans up in arms. We will discuss that and how this is a no-brainer for the league to change this rule and make it reviewable. The play reviewable. We'll do that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. All right, folks, we're getting toward the NCAA tournament here. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the NCAA tournament. First four tonight. Do it. Let's go. Get in on the action. What is it? Colorado and Boise State? Come on. Go to FanDuel right now and you can bet on it. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a one seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/LOCKEDON and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. This was dumb. This is dumb. And this is something that I cannot believe the NFL is still proposing to change and that it's not a rule that has been fixed. All right. We all watch the games. All right. We all see the play clock, the game clock, run down at the end of a quarter, whatever it is. And we wonder, we all saw it at zeros, triple zeros, 0, 0, 0. And yet the ball gets snapped. And players stop, especially on defense, or they think it's the end of the quarter, whatever it is. Go back to Thursday night football, week 4. Lions leading the Packers. Packers get to the line of scrimmage. It looks like they're running out the clock for the end of the quarter. Then as the clock hits 0, 0, 0, Jordan Love takes a snap and throws a deep ball to Jaden Reed. He connects it. He connects on it for 44 yards. It was clear. It was obvious. It's all right there. The clock's at 0. It was not reviewable. The Lions couldn't have thrown the red challenge flag and said that play should not have counted. The clock was at triple zeros. Jaden Reed catches the touchdown pass from 44 yards out, and the Lions' 17-point lead is down to 10. Now, the Lions went on to win the game, but the competition committee now is trying to put a new rule in place. By competition committee amends Rule 15, Section 3, Article 9 to allow a replay review when there is clear and obvious visual evidence that the game clock expired before any snap. To me, I would be using the game clock and the play clock for this. How many times have we seen this? If the Lions feel and they look up and Dan Campbell sees that the play clock's at 0 and the other team has not snapped the ball yet, and the officials with their buzzers and everything don't pick up on it, he should be able to review that because that's a 5-yard penalty. So the game clock is even more egregious than the play clock. And now it appears that the NFL is proposing this new rule change so that plays like this do not happen. And the Lions don't get jobbed like they did a year ago. All right? Close this loophole and fix this. I mean, the Lions are notorious for being on the wrong end of rules. Go back to the Calvin Johnson and completing the catch. All of that BS. It drives us all crazy. But this was a no-brainer. And if you recall, the game clock was at 0 and it wasn't even close. And Dan Campbell is talking to the side judge saying, can I review this? He had his red challenge flag ready. Let's get it right. Do I want every single play reviewed? Do I want pass interference reviewed? No, because we'll be there all day. But something like this, where players see the clock at 0 and they stop playing or they let up a little bit. All right. It's obvious. It's the end of the quarter, end of the half, heck, end of the game. Let's make this reviewable. And that appears to be happening as the NFL is looking into this. Thank goodness. All right. We could sit here all day and talk about rule changes and stuff like that, but that was a touchdown pass. And Dan Campbell was furious on the sideline. How do the officials miss that? There's 8, 9, 10 officials down there. Now, again, the clock and the play clock we know is connected to a buzzer that's on the official's I think belt loop and all this stuff, but still, this is a rule change the league's proposing that needs to happen, because if the officials don't see it, this either needs to be a booth review where somebody in the booth goes, they screwed it up, the play should never have happened, or the coach should be able to challenge it. Has to be challenged. All right, that'll do it for Locked On Lions for this Wednesday edition. If you missed Sam Monson from PFF yesterday, he was fantastic. Go back and check that out. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts, right here on Locked On Lions. We'll see you tomorrow.